And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today we are talking about 5 key points for the Washington Commanders taking down the Arizona Cardinals. You can find this particular article that we are looking at on WashingtonCommanders.com. I think it's a great piece. But let's go into point number one, and that is keeping Kyler Murray in the pocket. And so you're looking at the statistics here. Looks like he completed 68.6% of his passes, which ranks 12th in the NFL, tied for third most passing touchdowns at 5. All right. And so, just starting with this point, I think that this is really big for the Washington Commanders. In fact, I was looking at Locked On Commanders, and David Harrison talks about the fact that Kyler Murray and his percentage in the pocket is actually lower. All right. So if you keep him in the pocket, then the percentages of him completing the football, it comes down a bit more than when he's outside of the pocket. And so, yes, that is going to be critical for the Washington Commanders to stay very disciplined in how they are rushing the pocket and making sure that you are not going to give him some escape lanes or give him a better window to throw the football. In fact, it seems like that once he sidesteps and he looks to attack the right side of the field. He's been very good. Again, this was talked about on Locked On Commanders. He likes to attack the intermediate and then also to the outside right boundary of the field. And actually, he likes to attack the left too as well, but more so the right. Obviously, if you're attacking the boundaries, then that is where you do not give the corners necessarily a chance to go ahead and jump and make a play on the football. And if they do intercept the ball, then generally they're probably going to go out of bounds versus actually get a chance to get some positive plays down the field. And so, look, Kyler Murray has to be kept in the pocket if the Washington Commanders want to have a chance. And I think that if you don't keep him in the pocket, then that's where you're going to see Marvin Harrison Jr. really excel. In fact, when you look at what he was able to do against the Rams, there was a play where Kyler Murray is scrambling and then he finds Marvin Harrison Jr. And you can imagine what type of havoc that would cause on our secondary. It's already being tested. It's clear that we need to make some adjustments here. And we have given up some yardage to Malik Neighbors. We've given up yardage to Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like any wide receiver that could potentially come in and be good. They have been great against the Washington Commanders, so we certainly don't want to add to the fact that we have Kyler Murray out here scrambling, and he can make plays with his legs as well. And the one thing that I will say about Kyler Murray is once he does get out of the pocket, then he's probably going to go ahead and look to run. But I could see that with our secondary having the issues that it's had, then I could see him looking to still look to pass the ball, and that's going to turn into chunk plays, which could really hurt us. And on top of that, when it comes down to rushing the quarterback, you'll see here that we are actually tied for 28th. We're only getting 4 sacks thus far through these first couple of games. Obviously, we're hoping that we can improve on that, getting some natural pressures, getting the quarterback down, and this is going to be a tough one for us on Sunday. And it's interesting, too, because we're actually winning when it comes down to pass rush rate. It's 11th we're ranked. And so very interesting. We're just not making those plays once we go ahead and rush the quarterback. So we absolutely have to get him down if we get the opportunity. Next up, supplement Austin Eckler's production. I absolutely think that the run game is going to be critical for the Washington Commanders, no matter how you look at it. And I think that we have some options where we could call up some players. Obviously, we have Kaz Allen. We have Chris Rodriguez Jr. Like those are a couple players that we could absolutely go ahead and call up, perhaps to go ahead and fill in for Austin Eckler. And I think that they could perhaps be used a lot. And then, we're going to use Jaden Daniels, but we're going to have to get back to using Brian Robinson Jr. And so I think that that is a way in which we can go ahead and help to supplement a little bit of his run production. And then also, too, I think another thing that's mentioned here is they talk about Luke McCaffrey. They talk about Zach Ertz. And I absolutely believe that, yes, they're going to definitely have to play a big part in the Washington Commanders game plan. In fact, Cliff Kingsbury loves to run a lot of screen plays. You could see them do a lot of tight end screens, wide receiver screens that would supplement a little bit of what Austin Eckler does. Obviously, Austin Eckler is a dynamic player, but I think that both of those players are going to have to step up along with perhaps a practice player running back that we would be calling up. Next up, we have to take care of business when it comes down to Marvin Harrison Jr. You see that I just talked about Malik Neighbors. He had 127 yards. Jamar Chase had 118 yards. Also to Mike Evans in week one. Those guys had quite a day as well. And so, yes, it is going to be a challenge with Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I do think that even if Marvin Harrison Jr. does have a good day, there is a chance that the Washington Commanders can still win this football game. And I think that, the Washington Commanders just have to really stop everything else. And so that means that you have to make the Cardinals become one-dimensional, a lot like you did with the Bengals. I think that even though the Bengals had some success, they still had to go more towards throwing the football. And I think that if we can make the Cardinals more one-dimensional, even if it is going down to Marvin Harrison Jr., you have to like your odds to win the football game as a whole. And so I don't know, is it going to be a mix in coverage? Probably so. They're probably going to give him some different looks. I can imagine they're probably going to try to bracket a lot of coverage, which is basically put a free safety on top of who is going to really shadow Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that that is going to be critical. And I think that if he's going to make plays, you're hoping that he's making plays that are in front of you. You don't need him to make those splash plays that he made against Arizona. You don't need him, or not Arizona, excuse me, against the Rams. You don't need him to also make plays like he made last week as well, where he's getting touchdowns. So you don't want to get those huge plays from Marvin Harrison Jr. You want to find a way to really slow him down, slow that production down. And that means that you keep Kyler Murray in the pocket, make him have to go through his reads. I think that that takes away a lot of those explosive plays down the field. Next up, talking about relying on the run game, this kind of goes into really supplementing with Austin Eckler being out. I think that, yes, the run game to me is one of the most important things that you can have in football. And I think that it's something that a lot of people looking at football probably overlook it. But I think that when you run the football, now you're starting to establish really an identity. And then you're also keeping yourself, moving in the right direction when it comes to getting to the chains. Because now you want to make sure that when it comes to getting to that first down marker, it's a shorter distance to get there. And you do that by running the football. And I think that when you do that now, you become a little bit more dynamic as an offense. That means that Jaden Daniels is going to be able to now hit the team with play actions, the bootlegs, the options. Everything is open in the playbook if you can run the football. And I think being physical is one of the things that Coach Dan Quinn wants to do, not just on the defensive end, but I think offensively as well. Coming from the Dallas Cowboys and also, too, coming from Atlanta, they had a good run game. And so that has to be part of the identity that he wants to have with the Commanders, because then when you start to get the Arizona Cardinals to start to play in the box this way, this is where you get Terry McLaurin to go down the field. This is where you can get Noah Brown, Zach Ertz. Those guys suddenly become a lot more open now because they're worried about the run game. So, yes, I think you have to see a lot of Brian Robinson Jr., this week. And hopefully, if we're going to use Jaden Daniels in that particular form of running the football, that we are smart about using that, because we don't want to get him hurt, but he obviously is going to have to run the football. Next up, it talks about just getting stops. And, I don't know if necessarily you're going to be able to get a whole bunch of stops. Like maybe it's the type of game where it's like Monday night where we're going back and forth. And that's fine if it comes down to that. I just think that if it does, and they're going back and forth with us, we have to make Arizona use the full field. Like we can't just sit there and let them get chunk plays. I think making them work the football down the field, having to really take what we're giving them on defense, I think that we can come out with the win this way if we're unable to get those timely stops that we need. But yes, I think it would be critical if we were able to just outright get stops. I think that, perhaps that would have helped us in week one. Not perhaps, I know that would have helped us in week one. We couldn't get a stop. We couldn't get the Bucks off the field. And I think the difference here in these last two games is that we weren't necessarily able to get stops against the Giants. We weren't necessarily able to get the stops that we needed against the Bengals. But what we did do is we made those teams really work the clock, work the field. And when we got the ball, we made sure that we kept their offense off the field as long as we could. We shortened the game. And I think that that might be the key going against the Arizona Cardinals here. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that these five keys are going to be the point of emphasis for the Commanders going into this game come Sunday against the Cardinals? Let me know. This is Washington Commanders Insider. We'll be talking a little bit more Commanders as we get ready for Sunday's game. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Go Commanders. Peace.